Welcome to the Driver's Line. I'm Greg.
I'm Jordan.
And today we have a conversation.
Yes, we do. So in the news recently, we saw that there was the North American International Auto Show just a few weeks ago. And it appears that there was not much going on.
No, the auto show was oddly quiet. Normally Detroit was one of the biggest ones in the industry, but in the past few years it's been pretty quiet, and this year was no different.
Yeah, so one of the big things that we saw at least happening was the Cadillac CT5. We saw a refresh happening this year, rolling out next year for the next model year. And honestly, I was kind of surprised that they were refreshing it at all, considering that they're not really investing too much in their naturally aspirated petrol-based engines anymore.
Specifically sedans, right?
Yeah,
I mean, everybody's killing off the sedan. And it kind of like, oh, we're going to give this a new face when it already had a perfectly good one.
Yeah, so like speaking about the face, right, there was a revised front fascia that I think Greg doesn't enjoy as much as I do, probably.
No, it kind of goes along the lines a little bit more akin to like the CT4. Which is not bad, but as an ATSV owner, I'm like, hey, I really like that look better. And, the CT5 kind of carried that a little bit forward, slightly better than the CT4 did.
Well, we see that they're trying to probably move towards an integrated look across the lineup.
How dare they? The corporate grill.
Yeah, I know, the corporate grill. Well, at least it doesn't have that fancy LED grill.
That is true. Yeah, I know the giant shield. Yeah. You will see me coming from miles away.
You need some venting. So we got that new corporate face that rolled out on the XT4 last refresh for that model, and we're probably going to see that coming across even more to integrate it more with their electric vehicles. So you have a new refreshed front fascia. They say that the rear has been refreshed, but not really much looks like it's happened.
It looks the same to me.
Yeah.
But the best news, the Blackwing is coming back. We will get another version of the CT5V Blackwing, which I hope they make a ton of them so I can buy one used.
Amen, brother. I think that makes two of us, because we know that is a fantastic chassis, as you can attest to.
Absolutely fantastic chassis, Alpha is, and every revision has only made it better. Every revision of the magnetic ride control, even better than the one before it.
That's right. On the inside is really where you're going to see most of the big changes. We saw that, for years, the interior of the CT4 and CT5 have been kind of lambasted about being a few steps behind the competition. I think it was pretty well laid out and pretty ergonomic. Materials weren't really too bad, but what we saw here is a big step forward in terms of the IP. So we have a 33-inch screen that's going across the dash, very similar to the Escalade, the Lyriq, all the future models coming out, even the XT4 that was refreshed last year. So you're going to get the same basic features as those have. The customizable IP for the driver. You also have Apple CarPlay that's still available.
Still available. Gotta love it.
Until all those electric cars start rolling out of GM, which is an interesting choice.
But yeah.
It's an interesting choice.
Yeah. One other awesome debut at the show was the new Acadia. So the Acadia kind of had been a little bit rough in terms of how it was perceived by a lot of consumers. Yeah. So, my wife and I were actually looking for a vehicle right in this class last year. And we looked at the Acadia. I wanted to give it a chance, but it was too small. The materials were too bad, and the technology was kind of lacking. So we went a different direction. But GM has recognized that and decided to, with their GMC brand, to go ahead and move forward with a much refreshed Acadia. Much nicer interior. It's 24% larger than the previous one. So that is a huge difference. Yeah. That is the reason a lot of people actually went the Traverse instead. It's because the Traverse was the actual full size of the platform, whereas the Acadia was smaller.
Yeah, I always found it weird that they shrunk it from one year to another. I mean,
makes no sense.
The Acadia was the first one they came out with those, I think it was a relay, right?
Yeah, the Saturn relay.
The Saturn relay,
yes.
Right? and the Buick Enclave, which is still pretty popular. And they shrunk it, I guess, maybe to make some differentiation
between that and the Yukon, maybe, but as I said before, you're going to have the Elevation from here, and then you're going to have the off-roady AT4, and then of course the Denali, which is going to be the one that everybody aspires to.
I'm curious how many folks take their AT4 Acadia off-roading.
Did not see anything in the press release about that, but I'm going to guess it's between 0 and 5.
That's fair. Any changes to the powertrain or anything on that?
I did not see anything about the powertrain, but I would imagine there probably are some changes, but I did not.
Probably some minor stuff, right? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Nice. Well, I saw the interior trim. It looks really nice.
I know the interior looks great. They've got new screens within the cockpit, so for both for driver and the center console. Yeah. Lots of the latest updated tech, and so it's going to be a pretty nice rig. I think they're going to sell pretty well.
We also saw out of GM unveiling or a re-unveiling, if you will, of the GMC Sierra EV. So that's a platform mates with the Silverado EV, or like I like to call it, the Avalanche EV, because that's essentially what it looks like.
Essentially the same thing.
Yeah. So really great technology coming out of GM with the Ultium platform. I think it's obviously a little pricey, but we are approaching
the first edition, or whatever they call it, right? Is going to be over $100,000.
Yep.
So a lot less expensive than a Hummer, but pretty expensive for your electric pickup truck.
I think it plays a nice middle ground between having that Silverado, which has the work truck options, which has been really great. I mean, they recently did a towing test on it, and it outperformed a lot of the gas-powered competition, which is pretty incredible.
Wow.
Well, it's true, though.
It is true.
The future's coming.
Yeah, the future's coming, whether we like it or not.
So in between that and the Hummer EV, which is definitely like a super truck, top of the line, it is in your face. It has that nice middle ground of a luxury feel, but it's not so overwhelming that it might turn off a lot of customers. I think GMC's playing it really smart there.
Plus it crab walks.
I gotta be honest, I don't see the point in crab walking. But hey, good for you.
Well, if you just want to sidle over a little bit, it's perfect.
Okay. Whatever happened to just shift it into reverse. But hey, I guess some people who are doing off-roading definitely see the value in that. It's there for a reason. I would really love to see it just turn around 360, though. That would
be so cool, like the tank turns.
Yeah.
A lot of different ones have advertised the tank turn, but nobody's actually put in production or pulled it off. So I'm guessing it must be a lot of wear and tear on the electric motors, the tires, or some other element of the vehicle that make it just unfeasible for production use.
It kind of reminds me also way back, remember that Sierra C3 that's turned into Sierra Denali that had the quadra steer?
Right. Oh yeah, those were so cool.
That was groundbreaking.
I
thought that was so amazing.
Because you had this giant truck that could do like the tightest turns.
Yeah.
It was so cool.
I think they could really push that even further, but
absolutely.
Let's see. I'm sure that they're leaving stuff down the road.
Of course. I mean, you gotta have a product in development, right? Exactly. Just like we have podcasts in development.
That's right. Truck. Well, Ford's been doing a decent amount of publicity with their Lightning EV pickup, but they just recently unveiled their refreshed or redone Ford F-150. It's not completely brand new. What we see is a lot of changes in terms of trim options, some changes in options in terms of engine. So the standard engine is no longer what was on offer before, which is that 3.3 V6. Now all of them come standard with that 2.7 twin turbo. So you're getting a little more power.
It's a solid engine.
Yeah. So we saw that. We saw some changes in the front fascia. So
very minor. Just typical. Going to give it a little bit of a little rub and a promise there.
Right.
But we're probably going to cut that out because that doesn't sound very good.
So we saw some minor changes, and I mean, in terms of the front fascia, I mean, you're not going to change what's not broken.
It's also the best-selling pickup, right? So you're not going to do a monumental change and potentially alienate a lot of your customer base. But what they did change,
looking at you, Chevy,
is the tailgate.
Yes, oh God, the tailgate. So I have this philosophy. Okay, so pickups way back when used to be very, very useful. Not saying that they're not useful now, but it's always been a numbers game with these big Detroit 3. Who can have the bigger bed? Right, and now that we're seeing the expansion of...
Well, it's men that make trucks, right? So
amen, brother.
Everybody compares size.
Bigger's always better, right?
Yeah, bigger's always better.
So we saw, in terms of bigger always better, people going towards larger cabins. So you don't see many two-door pickups on offer anymore. So you're seeing all these four doors, and you have to maximize what cargo space you have available. So now you're seeing all the heights of these cargo boxes increasing and increasing and increasing. So Chevy took one of the first steps to put those steps built into the bumper.
Yes.
Which, at this point, like, why is that not a thing?
I know, right? That should be a thing on everybody.
Yeah.
Right? Because it's so simple, so functional.
Yeah.
And let you get to either side of the bed.
I mean,
easy.
It's pretty straightforward. And I think it's a common sense solution. No super intense engineering needs to go into it. Not much to break.
Right. Simple.
And then we saw Dodge come up with their 1/3 door, 2/3 door thing that I'm not sure anyone ever bought.
No, nobody ever bought. Yeah.
But
they also did the Ram box.
The Ram box.
Yes. trying to make use of those extra large.
Yeah, so ripping off the Avalanche.
Yeah, exactly.
Years before. Always comes back to that. So now we're seeing this where these bed sides are so high that you can't reach into them. So GM has offered their professional series tailgates, right? Where they have multiple folding down flaps. They have tables that come out, turns into steps for you to step into the bed because the trucks are so tall now. Because you have to run over basically every person in the road while you're driving.
Yeah.
So Ford comes out with this new tailgate called the Pro Access tailgate, and I think it solves none of the problems that we have really. So it's giving you a Dutch door, which what they're showing on the promo material is essentially you have the ability, if you have something hooked up to a trailer, to open up that door and you can hop back in there. For all like 1 in 1 million times that you're ever going to do that. Because I've never known anyone that would need to do that.
No. in, out. Yeah.
So, but we still have this absurdly high bedside. So you still have that standard fold down if you need it, but then it also splits in half. And this just sounds like an engineering nightmare because I know in 5 to 10 years, all these tailgates are going to be flopping all over the place and you're going to have to replace every single hinge and every single door latch. And it's just insanely over-engineered for what really should be a simple solution. Lower the bedsides or put in some steps.
One other fact about the tailgate is, when Chevy started coming out with their professional grade tailgates and with GMC and whatnot, there was a huge rise in tailgate thefts because these tailgates were expensive to manufacture. Shocking. So like people would go straight to the dealership, steal them right off.
You're kidding
the vehicle.
Me.
No,
I didn't even know.
Steal them right off the vehicle. Not because of this reason, but because of probably many others, including this reason, has now come out with Ford Stolen Vehicle Services. And the F-150 is going to be the first vehicle that Ford offers in North America with Ford Stolen Vehicle Services. It's a connected feature. It will go ahead, it will notify you straight to your app if someone unauthorized moves your vehicle. Like, I don't know how it's going to necessarily know that, but they say if someone tows your vehicle or breaks into your vehicle, you'll get a notification. They will work with local law enforcement to go ahead and track the vehicle because it's connected. So it's kind of like
very OnStar-ish.
Yeah, very OnStar-ish and very like high-tech low jack.
Right. Well, I bet that would be great for Nissan Altima owners too.
Absolutely, those Altima owners, God, they would disable it first thing because they don't want anybody to know what they're doing with their big Altima energy.
Top secret, folks. I just find it wild that we have to introduce theft safety for tailgates now. That's insane.
Well, that's what I want to know though. Is like, will it work if someone takes off the tailgate?
Fair
Consumers need to test.
We need to test that. We by no way are we condoning.
We're not going to be condoning anyone testing
that.
So we would like to see the test. So another piece of news is Hyundai's change in design language. I'm a huge fan of it. I am a big proponent of it. Hyundai, for the longest time, copied people. And while they kind of still do that in a little bit of ways, they've kind of reinvented themselves in this brand new design language, which a lot of us really think actually, kind of kicked off with the new Santa Fe, but it actually kind of predates that. So it's not a U.S. market vehicle, but the Staria minivan actually kind of kicked off this design language, which then went to the Azera, which is also no longer in the United States. Right. So the first taste we got of it was with the new Santa Fe, which is, I think, fantastically designed. It is so cool. It is just a very, very neat design. It kind of looks like a mashup of a Ford Flex and the new Defender. But it actually is cohesive. That's the neatest thing about it. It's very cohesive. It's got the blocky looks. It's got the pixelated H's in the headlights and in the taillights. And I think the design overall works. It's just very, very cool. They actually had an XRT concept vehicle, which would not look out of place with the folks in Coventry, meaning Land Rover, because it's lifted, it's bulky, it's got the same add-ons that
really does.
that the Defender does.
Exact same.
But it's from Hyundai. These things are going to sell gangbusters. You thought you had to wait for a Telluride? Yeah. You haven't seen anything yet.
I got to say, I think you're dead on the money. I think they're going to sell a ton of them. Everything's moving towards a blocky design language, which is very, very different from where Hyundai was before.
Very different.
I just feel like it just feels very, to me, just one note. Everything is just so straight. And yeah, okay, I dig it. I dig the headlights. I think that's cool that they got the H pattern in there because every brand needs a signature trademark.
Absolutely,
right?
they got to have it.
I mean, Caddy has those vertical lamps.
And some do with a failure. Like Kia with their redesigned logo. Everybody's like, "Tell me about that KN car."
Yeah.
It's not KN. It says Kia.
So I mean, I think that's a smart choice.
Backwards.
Yeah. I think it's a smart choice. I'm just not thrilled with some of the smaller features of this. I just feel like the back end of it, I know that, so they're using the excuse that they need to put them down low for that hatch opening to make it wide enough. I just feel like at this point in society, like, have we not figured out how to make taillights that open on both sides of the hatch? Because, like, I know that that's been happening for decades now. So,
Audi's been doing it for years?
Yeah, so it just seems like an odd decision to me.
That's very odd.
I feel like someone came up with it and they're like, yeah, this looks really good.
This looks cool.
And now we got to find ways to defend it.
Right, exactly. So it kind of looks like a modern El Camino almost.
Yeah, right, exactly.
Yeah, it's just weird to see taillights that low.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's completely out of place. That's the one piece that I kind of think it falls apart a little bit. But
Gotcha.
They're still going to sell gangbusters. So what do you think of the new Elantra and the new Sonata?
Well, I think the refresh did a really great job of moderating up that front end. The light bar going across the front ties it in with a lot of the other ones that we're seeing come out of Hyundai, and just really across the whole board. That's definitely a trend that we're seeing across all automakers, moving towards that light signature. Probably giving a nod towards our EV future that we're seeing in a lot of the brands.
Absolutely.
But if I'm honest with you, I think the Elantra was always a pretty good looker. Even when they redesigned it years ago, it just stood out.
You like the CN7?
Well, I think that it stood out.
Viewers, there's no accounting for taste.
I think it stood out. And
with that creased mess that they came out with in 2020 as a 2021 model, was not a fan of that. But Hyundai at least saw the error of their ways. They fixed it, and now it looks so much nicer.
It definitely does.
The Elantra N, fantastic performance option, looks great now.
Yeah.
So I would not kick one of those out of my driveway, definitely. And it's a great competitor for like the Civic Type R.
I absolutely agree, and it's nice to see folks entering that market, just as we're seeing other folks pulling out of what is traditionally their safe space, which is our hot hatches, and I'm a little bitter about that.
Womp womp.
Yeah. But way to go, Hyundai, because I think you guys are on a roll, and props to you because you're not afraid to take risks. I think also like the Ioniq 5, like how unique is that vehicle?
So cool. Like, it kind of reminds me of the oh gosh, what was the that old Italian sedan, the rally sedan, Lancia no, not the Stratus, the
Delta? No.
Delta Integrale.
Yeah, hatchback,
yeah. It kind of has like the Delta Integrale vibes.
It's funny. I was thinking something different.
I'm sure you were. Did you have no imagination?
I think it looks. Well, I think it just looks like a really modernized, cooler version of the Dodge Omni.
Yeah, the GLHS, yeah, sort of, yeah. It's got that same sort of vibe.
Goes like hell.
Yeah, goes like hell.
But like, it has this retro 80s look, which we're seeing some more retro 80s stuff coming out of Hyundai with their sports car concept.
Yeah, supposedly they're going to greenlight that concept.
That's going to be amazing if they do.
I cannot wait.
That's another gangbusters car.
That's going to be an EV that I could actually see in my driveway.
Oh, for sure.
Because it's so cool.
Definitely. It's like a really modern, updated, like DeLorean-esque vibe, but with actual horsepower.
Yeah, I know. The poor DeLorean. It looks so good, so slow.
Oh.
Yeah. But, the new Sonata is so cool with that light bar. It really kind of like looks like a Lucid Air. Like a budget Lucid Air.
It really does.
And so I think that's really cool. And so the Elantra and the Sonata both debuted in Miami. And so Hyundai saw fit not to bring them to Detroit. So that was just yet another thing that the show was lacking.
Yeah, we're seeing a lot of dropping off in these auto shows, especially Detroit. It seems used to be such a huge auto show. Everyone looked forward to it. They moved the date of it to hopefully encourage some more folks to come out. But the number of debuts, I mean, certainly better than last year's debuts, but just not really killing it. I think we're seeing a lot of expansion in terms of other markets possibly, but also just I think auto shows in general are starting to lose their popularity, which is really heartbreaking.
Very sad.
Yeah.
Very sad to see because it's just part of American culture, right, to have a debut of a cool vehicle. And at Detroit, Stellantis brought us Jeep Gladiator with a new grille and some new infotainment.
All right, well, that wraps up our auto show recap of the North American International Auto Show. As more auto shows happen this season, we'll be sure to bring you some comments and coverage from those as well.
All right, join us next week where we're going to be talking about our dream garages. Like and subscribe, and we'll see you then.